I send forth this jeweled mandala to this Guru. Idam Guru Radha Mandalagam Niradayami Yadan Jodi Yanam La Chanju Madhu Dani Yazuji Nagi Jinye Jibezanam Jinrola Ben Jizanye Rubaryo Jadan Zodi Janam La Janju Badu Dani Yazuji Ni Jinye Jibezanam Rola Ben Jizanye Rubaryo Yadan Zodi Janam La Janju Badu Dani Yazuji Nagi Jinye Jibezunanye Rola Ben Jizanye Rubaryo.
Lamrim Chenmo Makashu, that Jimmy Chonguda, Tonga Lajaba, Nida Tonga Lajaba, Jimmy Chimby Lajaba, Song Sages Mungana, Chonguda Tonga Lajaba, the late Marba, Chonguda Tonga Lajaba, Chonguda Tonga Lajaba, the La, Tene Samajan, one to Samba Chipse, Tela Lotu Sawa, Samajan, one to La, Jiden Shamatu, Julijiba, Jiden Shamati, Tata, Tanjide Shimati taught them about the La, John to the lady, the Marba, John to the lady, that John to the La, and John to Joe, John to more than the Carsore. Just to just Hajaraba, Jim, such as J, what the rules, Lajana Mara.
So again, we are looking at Lamrim Tsong-kha-pa's great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment. And here we find that the contents, if summarized, contain the stages of the path for beings of three capacities. The stages of the path shared in common with beings of small capacity, the stage of the path shared in common with beings of medium capacity, and the stage of the path for beings of great capacity. So the first category is the category in which we're dealing with right now, and that's the stage of the path training the mind, and the stages of the path that are shared in common with beings of small capacity. So this first category has 3 points that are made. First is the development of the state of mind of a person of small capacity, so the actual training of thought for a person of small capacity. The second point that's made is the measurement of that training of thought of a person of small capacity. And then the third point is dispelling any misconceptions related to the person of small capacity. So the first category, which is the training in the mind and the actual training of the actual training of thought of a person of small capacity, we find that there are 2 categories. First, developing a state of mind that strives diligently for the sake of future lives, and then the second category, relying on a means of achieving happiness in one's next life, the reliance on method. So we've completed the sections up to the reliance upon method, the top Demba. So that section that says reliance upon a means or a method for achieving happiness in one's next life, we find two major headings. The first major heading is developing the state of refuge, the entrance, the excellent door or gateway into the teachings. So developing the state of refuge. And then the next is the development of the conviction in karma and its results. So those are the two categories. So first, how to go, or going for refuge, the entrance or the gateway into the instructions, and then secondly, developing a faith or a conviction in karma and its results. So the first category of going for refuge, the entrance into the excellent instruction, there are 4 points that are made. So refuge is looked at as a gateway or an entrance into the teachings. So there are 4 points that are made under that. First, the causes of going for refuge, the Jew. The second point is based on that, the Yu, the object to which you go for refuge. The third point is how you go for refuge. And then the fourth point that's made is advices about going for refuge. So the advices or I think precepts related to going for refuge, it says here, the stages of the precepts, but it's really the advice. Advice, if you go for refuge, what's the advice about? What advices are there for one going for refuge? So these are the 4 points that are made in that section. So under the major heading of training in refuge, the excellent entrance or gateway into the instruction. So when we deal with the stages of the path that are shared in common with beings of small capacity and those practices, we're speaking of those practices which lead to the higher realms, such as going for refuge in the 3 jewels of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, engaging in ethical behavior which abandons 10 non-virtuous activities, and if one has engaged in negative behavior, acknowledging that downfall, or confessing that downfall. So these are the practices that we will begin to hear about related to going for refuge and in this section, and related specifically to the teachings, the stage of the path shared in common with beings of small capacity.
ane kuiyun de songkeyun de tojiyun de chilejiyun de jisongzwa kuiyun de ane sanjili cenzang shajo kuli cenzla zuwa o desu shebe ina ane sanjili ngasul de kuli cenzla zuwa zuwa sanjili de yodo o da ngasul de nagamudu sambaji kono gojiro da o de kuiyun de songkeyun de dele ane seje 참하게 뒤지도 안에 저만도 사실 주변이나 사제게 손찌게 안에 세제 참하게 안에 좋아하는 그래서 안에 세제 소소소 깨도 보는 그래서 사제 손들 들이 봐줘 그래서 다 토도 또 챔피언도 시연도 말이야 안에 사제게 토데 녀모바도 시제 저 봉사바 인송자 안에 제도 제제비 추 참말로 Lesso. Maybe Saint Tangila maybe Nijam.
Lesso.
See you there about the Marba.
Lesso.
See you there. That religion that thing about religion that there. That's Hanjik Shilot Ma and the Sijil Jubala and the Kalika Yomaris and then Nakal and Dawagi 네 비지데 추다마도를 마차발 깔레면도스 베면으로 추다마든 다발 된데요바이나 아니 추다마가 비지도 어떤 나올라 차발 깔레면도 드나지 수수용원에 네 사질레 데비도 건조송 가베요바이나 가비 촌나올래 사지기실라도 만주발라 kaleo mare bemen handu res dai zoni chunon shabana res ani jume je baso marbe jume je baso na saji no kunyangal de ayo ma duji chung sabare saji ge tele de rebe na ji jume je ba ni je sije na la pendo bazo dos what je de marbe
Okay, so looking at the categories of the refuge, the entrance into or gateway into the excellent instruction, we have the 4 categories. First category, causes of going for refuge. We've completed that section. Second category, based on that, the objects to which you go for refuge to. We've completed that section. The third category is the way that you go for refuge. So that's the section that we're currently dealing with. So the way that you go for refuge. So there's 4 points that are made. First is going for refuge by knowing the excellent qualities. Second is going for refuge by knowing the distinctions. Third is going for refuge through commitment. And fourth is going for refuge through knowing, not acknowledging other refuges or abandoning outsiders, shirupa. So abandoning outsiders. So this is the 4th category. So not going for refuge to outsiders. So then, when we look at the first category, going for refuge by way of knowing the excellent qualities, we find there are 3 points that are made. The excellent qualities of the Buddha, the excellent qualities of the Dharma, the excellent qualities of the Sangha. And when we begin with the excellent qualities of the Buddha, we find 4 points that are made. The excellent qualities of the Buddha's body, the excellent qualities of the Buddha's speech, the excellent qualities of the Buddha's mind, and the excellent qualities of the Buddha's enlightened activities. So when we look at the excellent qualities of the Buddha's body, we find the marks and signs, the 32 marks and 80 signs, 32 signs and 80 marks. And we then find the first one is the chakra or wheel on the hand of the Buddha. And we see that this is the first sign of an excellent quality of a Buddha when we look at the marks or signs and marks of a Buddha. And we see that our hands don't have these because we haven't developed these qualities to be able to have this particular sign that a Buddha's body has. So the first category deals with the marks and signs of a Buddha, or signs and marks of a Buddha. So that's the excellent qualities of the Buddha's body. The second are the excellent qualities of the Buddha's speech. The Buddha has the ability, if all sentient beings were to simultaneously, in their own individual languages, ask the Buddha different questions, the Buddha would be able to, with one response in a language that they would understand, be able to simultaneously answer all of their questions. So the Buddha would be able to simultaneously, with one word response, be able to answer all sentient beings' questions in their own individual dialects. So it says in a way that they will understand. So this is the excellent quality of the Buddha's speech. The next is the excellent quality of the Buddha's mind. Excellent quality of the Buddha's mind is divided into 2 categories: the excellent qualities of the Buddha's knowledge and the excellent qualities of the Buddha's caring or compassion. First, the excellent qualities of the Buddha's knowledge refers to the Buddha's ability to simultaneously comprehend reality and diversity. The Buddha's ability to, because of having gotten rid of the ngudri and shidri, the afflictive obstructions and the obstructions to omniscience, he or she is able to, because of the omniscience that he or she has achieved by abandoning those negativities, comprehend or apprehend ultimate and conventional truth at the same time or simultaneously. So this is the first excellent quality of Buddha's knowledge, related to the Buddha's mind. And then the excellent qualities of the Buddha's caring is that the Buddha has as his or her mikpa, or object of observation, all sentient beings, and has great compassion and cares for and loves all sentient beings. So this is the excellent qualities of the Buddha's caring under the category of the excellent quality of the Buddha's mind. The last is the excellent quality of the Buddha's enlightened activities. So the enlightened activities we find are the Buddha's body, speech, and mind. And we find that the enlightened activities have two qualities. Hunchi Drupa, they are spontaneous, and secondly, that they are everlasting or ever occurring. So the first point of spontaneity, we find an example that's given. If there is a body of water that serves to reflect, and the moon is in the sky, the moon effortlessly, without any thought to reflect, spontaneously reflects off of all of those surfaces that serve as adequate reflectors, such as a body of water. Likewise, the enlightened activities of the Buddhas spontaneously and without effort are always blessing us, and blessing us if the conditions are correct. So in the case of the moon reflecting, it's necessary to have an appropriate reflector or a body of water. If we have, within our continuum, faith, then our continuum will be spontaneously blessed by the Buddha's enlightened activities or the Buddha's enlightened influence. And the last part, everlasting, is referring to the fact that the Buddha's enlightened influence or enlightened activities are always occurring, and the reason that they're always occurring is because the Buddha does not abide in nirvana. The Buddha chooses not to abide in nirvana, the Nyanyan Le Depa, so there's not in nirvana. So therefore, the Buddha is constantly performing these activities because the Buddha is constantly not abiding in nirvana. So these activities are without effort and spontaneous, and they are constantly occurring. So these are the two qualities of the Buddha's enlightened activities, which is the fourth category of the excellent qualities of the Buddha.
That was what is that Deni seni çendi şu koncu seni tutuk galo gülamalı somamarı şu koncu de jede o tadanın da kadudle düdü cimadı bu dübatran o ta kade şu koncu den masandan omarız mar demaji nandan dönge pabi dema den kunju pabi dema den goba pabi dema den lan pabi dema kol kuyucu ni kol ni Juni Jemar, Juni. Ta kwal tri jute lande ta drevon goden. Den goba pabi dembos. Den goba pabi dembos jibon goden ta den la pabi dembos lande ni bete chukun jures. Chukun jude nyete pabi jule yo are, raje pabi jule yo are, shansen pabi jule yo are, sanje pabi jule yo are. Pabi jule ma tu chukun yo mares. Goden ta lande ni san ta ores. Marbe what nge woda.
So that is the goes over the excellent qualities of the Buddha. The next category refers to the excellent qualities of the Dharma. And when we look at the Sublime Continuum by Lord Maitreya, we find 8 excellent qualities that are stated within how the Dharma jewel is defined. When we look at the commentary, there's 8 specific qualities. And the definition, according to the Sublime Continuum, is Dharma is defined as that which is possessing the two truths free from desire, is an antidote, lucid, pure, non-conceptual, non-dual, inconceivable. And then there are 8 excellent qualities that are presented about the Dharma. When we look at Lamrim Tsong-kha-pa's great treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment, we find a very, very small section related to the excellent qualities of the Dharma. But if we were to just summarize what the Dharma is really referring to, we would say that first of all, it doesn't begin until the path of seeing, so at the path of an Arya, the path of superior. And here, when we look at the Dharma, and when we look at the Four Noble Truths, the Buddha stated that this is the superior truth of suffering, this is the superior truth of origin, this is the superior truth of cessation, and this is the superior truth of path. And within these Four Noble Truths, the Buddha presented two cause and effect relationships. The first cause and effect relationship were between the truth of suffering and origin, and it showed how one was bound to samsara. And the second cause and effect relationship were between the truth of cessation and truth of path, which shows how one was freed from or unbound from cyclic existence. So the true paths and true cessations are what we're referring to when we say the Dharma jewel. So the excellent qualities of the Dharma jewel are referring to the excellent qualities of the true paths and true cessations within the continuums of the hearers, solitary realizers, bodhisattvas, and Buddha Aryas. So the four types of Arya beings, or papas, the superior beings of the different vehicles. So here vehicles are the Shravakas, the solitary realizer vehicle, Prachika Buddhas. The bodhisattva vehicles are the bodhisattvas, and then the bodhyana, the Buddhas, Buddha Aryas, the Buddha superiors. So these are the four types of superiors. So that are the true paths and true cessations within the continuums of those, any among those four types of superiors or Aryas. And then again, the explanation within the definitions in the Maitreya's Sublime Continuum, and then we find 8 excellent qualities. So the final is the Sangha jewel, the excellent qualities of the Sangha jewel. And here, the Sangha jewel is necessarily referring to a person or a concept. So if it is a Sangha jewel, it is a being or a person. And what kind of person? It is a person who is on the path of seeing, a person who is on the path of meditation, a person path of no more learning, and a Buddha person. So it is a person who is a superior. So this is what the Sangha jewel is referring to. And here we translate the Sangha jewel as the community, or the spiritual community. But if we look at the word gendun, it really, ge is virtue, dun is aspiring. So those who aspire to virtue is the real way to translate the Sangha jewel if we were to look at the word in Tibetan. So those aspiring to virtue. And who are those aspiring to virtue? Those who are superiors on the path of seeing, meditation, and no more learning. And then the realization of true paths and true cessations within those persons' continuums is the Dharma jewel.
or you not you are Samaraba. Not the Demamaruba, not the Matuba Lulu years. Not the Mamaruba she will take Denzil no war Samaraba. To you share to the Shekuna.
Okay.
And not Donina Mine, the Gongina, and not the Mamaruba Mine, Shene took to war, Shene Marba.
Less so.
Then Laton to Jolan Leno Marba.
Less so.
And I'm also to the Tolan.
Less so.
But then, yeah, Pabata, Chukunchu Kalima is a Marba.
Less so. So when we look at Chugonchu. Okay, so then when we look at the realization and we look at the Dharma jewel, we begin by looking at the I itself. We look at ourselves, or the I, or the ego. Our I there's no separate I. There is an I that is nominally designated based on a collection that comes together. It serves as a basis of designation for the name I. So it's compared to a reflection in a mirror. We put our face in front of a mirror, and then based on the collection of this reflection of our face coming together, a picture of our face is created. So this is how the I comes together, based on a collection of aggregates and so forth coming together, and then it's named as the I. Just as the mirror reflects our face, all of the parts come together, and then we name it as there's a picture of our face. The I comes together in the same way that this apprehension of our face in the mirror takes place. So it is the grasping at true establishment that is a mistaken view. The grasping at the I is being truly established. The grasping at is not being dependently originating is a mistaken view and is at the root of the origin of negativities. But the non-mistaken view that recognizes the lack of true establishment serves as an opponent or an antidote to that mistaken view. So we go through various stages of understanding, first through Tongjung, so the wisdom arisen from hearing. So we hear about dependent origination, and we have the object of observation of the hearing, or the object of hearing in this case would be of emptiness. And then the object of observation, then we begin to use emptiness as our object of observation of analysis and contemplation. And then the wisdom arisen from contemplation occurs, and first it occurs at the level of in a meditation where we develop shine, which is a calm abiding. And then this analysis is joined with this calm abiding and is transformed into what is called special insight. So we have a special insight, which is a union of calm abiding and special insight, which has as its object of observation emptiness. So then this is within the continuum. So one has used inference and then has as the object of observation of this special insight emptiness. And then after that, there is a direct perception, a direct valid cognition, musum sema, direct prime cognition of emptiness itself. And one moves from the path of preparation, where one is an ordinary being, a susojul, to the path of seeing, tonglam, where one is now a papa, an arya being, a superior being. So this realization of, direct realization of emptiness is where we begin to see the Dharma jewel, the true path, or and true cessations relative to the Dharma jewel, and then related to the Sangha jewel, that person then becomes a superior or an arya. These.
What does the thing is what the one is saying? Say to me, the number saying matters. Should have to get the gune, she never the Latin than the gune, and the opinion more about the bone, and the Zokan the Zomel General is a matter.
So this union of this concentration, this single-pointed concentration, this calm abiding and special insight that's developed is not something that is exclusive to the Buddhist tradition. There are beings who can accumulate this single-pointed concentration where there's this union of calm abiding and special insight, and then be able to transcend the realm and achieve the form realm existence or the formless realm existence. So we find these concentrations not specific to the Buddhist tradition. The Shilupa, the Mikpa, Kakarebe.
Tony to look the Denzil Nodro, that Yamu Sawa, Lagos doing it our what day never then and Tabatoya Sanjay.
So these concentrations allow the beings to achieve the form realm and formless realm states with their objects of observation that they use for their concentrations, just general. But the Buddhist object of observation being emptiness, which serves as an opponent to the grasping at true established, serves to get rid of the coarse afflictions initially at the path of seeing, and then work on the other afflictions and so forth that are caused by the grasping at true establishment. So it's the object of observation that differs, and what that emphasis on the object of observation does from an antidote perspective.
Okay, so
now we've gone through the section that deals with excellent qualities of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, going to refuge by knowing the excellent qualities. So now we're going to do the going for refuge by knowing the distinctions. So we are now going to turn to page, I think 188 in the English.
What the man do not matter. Cheba Shebi Joseph Swan is what the net, the ring as what the matter.
So we're on page 188 in the English. So again, I'm going to use the English, and when Rinpoche begins any kind of word commentaries, I'll also just start to pull the words directly out of the Lamrim Chenmo, so that we can see how they relate to the word commentaries.
What didn't matter to watch Cheba Shebi Joseph Swan's Cheba Shebi Gune, Sanju Gunju Song de la Joseph Swan's, Dual and Joan Taras, Dual the Pigi Sanga Dual Indo, Dual and Joan Taras, Gunju Suna Pensuji, Cheba Shene, Joseph Uza, Cheba Shegun, Joseph Duade, Gunju Suna Pensun, Cheba Shebi Gune, Joseph Dual Sawaris. And the Sanji Conju Carriore, Chugunjul Carriore, the new Conjul Carriores, Kuzanabas, Chabat Shigurs, Maraba. That Panakazore, that Sanji Conju Chukun, Sanji Conju, the Chugunju Yibade, and then also what the Saint do, Mosumaji Chavacarius, what the Netudu. Sanji Conju, Chugunju Yibade, Measure Masu, Measure. Sanji Conju. Chugunju Macho, Shajatuba Jushi. Chugunju na, Sanji Gunju Macho, and Godeland Janti Marva. Nika Yimba.
The Chu Yin Sanjay Mayan.
Chugunju the Gunugunju. Chugunju the Sanji Gunju.
Chugunju Yimba, my Sanjay Mayimba.
Chugunju Yimba, Sanji Mayimba, Nitu Godeland, Rajan Godeland, Shansen Godeland Janti.
Okay.
That Sanji in a Chugunju Macho Rosana,
yes,
and then Shajatuba Jushi, Druguton Janti.
Chugunju Yimba?
Sanji Yimba Rosana, Sanji Tujuke Godeland. Godeland, the Chugunju, Sanji Gunjura. Ale,
Ngoni Chuku, Ale, Sanji. Goden Landen. To be Goden Landen. Okay.
Goden Landen chooses. Chukunju Yibata.
Lesso.
Dorota.
Sanjay Batal do Nika Mayimba Lela.
Niga le labu do cheba shibu gun jo do the resan dan dan do. Gni gonju da sanji gonju cheba karius.
Leso.
Te majmare majire. Ane
Gendun Sanjay Mushi. Okay.
majire gro.
4.
Da gni gonju da
Chugunchu
chu
Gyawa.
gonju gewa.
Kansak.
Gni gonju
Ningu.
chu gonju ina jijin goden ji lang de ro da. Ane kaza ke sanji lang goden lang de ja ju mar.
Leso.
chu gonju de gni gonju gewa re do.
Leso.
마송 매주 군 처박 천이 좋아나 저 있는 데 도와서 단든 마야 때지 만다시 송도 왔
Neither like in.
너무
Jingu.
들어가잖아
Okay. So here we're going to the section that deals with going for refuge by knowing the distinction. So it says, according to the compendium of determinations, Rinpoche said he believes that by Lord Asanga, you go for refuge after understanding the distinctions among the 3 jewels. So now Rinpoche would like to go to the, just translator's note, we're going to now use some debate terminology, 3 permutations, 4 permutations, mutually exclusive or synonymous. So now the distinctions, when one posits debate, one says, what is the, you don't know the difference between this and that. Is it 3, 4, mutually exclusive, or this? So this word distinctions, here in the Lamrim Chenmo, is the chepa that is used in debate. What is the difference between these? Is it 3? Is it 4? So this word difference then is where Rinpoche is showing how it's applied to debate. So we're going to begin by comparing what is the difference between the Buddha jewel and the Dharma jewel. Is it 3, 4, mutually exclusive, or synonymous, or one meaning? Rinpoche said that it is 4 possibilities, or 4 permutations. So first we say, if it is the Buddha jewel, is it necessarily the Dharma jewel? No. So if it's the Buddha jewel, it's not necessarily the Dharma jewel. Then you would say, well then show me what is the Buddha jewel but not the Dharma jewel. And then the answer would be the emanation body of the Buddha, or Buddha, the subject Buddha Shakyamuni. The subject Buddha Shakyamuni is the Buddha jewel? Yes. The emanation, the Chuku, emanation body is the Buddha? Yes. Is the emanation body, or is Buddha Shakyamuni the Dharma jewel? No. It's not the Dharma jewel. It's not true path, not a true cessation. Next thing would be, is if it is the Dharma jewel, is it necessarily the Buddha jewel? And then the answer is no. If it's the Dharma jewel, it's not necessarily the Buddha jewel. Then we would say, show something that is the Dharma jewel that's not necessarily the Buddha jewel. We would say the hearer's cessation or solitary realizers, true paths or true cessations. Those are Dharma jewels, but those are not Buddha jewels, because they're hearer vehicle and solitary realizer vehicle, not the Bodhisattva or Buddha vehicle. So that's the 2 possibilities conquered. So this is how we get to 4. The third is something which is a common locus, the Nika Yimbamu. So the possibility which is both, something which is both. Common locus, it's called. So then we would come up with the Buddha's cessation and true paths. The Buddha's realization of cessation and true paths. So is the Buddha's realization of true cessation and true paths the Buddha? Yes, it is. And I asked Rinpoche the nature body, the natural cessations in that. So is that the Buddha? Yes. Is the true paths and true cessations within the continuum of a Buddha the Dharma jewel? Yes. So that's something which is both the Buddha jewel and the Dharma jewel. And then something which is neither the Buddha jewel or the Dharma jewel, Rinpoche said, is easy. Nika mayambi mu gari sumpre. Nge data lagu The tree, or I just wanted for accuracy to say the same thing Rinpoche did. There's many things that are. So the last one is something which is neither, and Rinpoche said a tree or something like of that nature, something which is neither the Buddha jewel nor the Dharma jewel. So the next we can compare the Sangha jewel and the Buddha jewel. So then we would say that there are 4 possibilities. So if it is the Sangha jewel, is it necessarily the Buddha jewel? And then the Gendun Yimba, Sanjay Mayimba, then Sanjay Gendun Mayimba. Then Sanjay Yina Gendu Mayimba Sanjay Landen Goden tu.
What does that
mean? Then a Nika Yimba Lilabudu Shachatupa. Okay. So then we would say, is there something which is the Sangha jewel which is not the Buddha jewel? And then we would have the answer a hearer or solitary realizer superior. Is a Sangha jewel because they have reached the path of seeing, but is not a Buddha jewel because they are not Buddhas. Then we would say, is there something which is the Buddha jewel which isn't the Sangha jewel? Then the answer would be yes, there is something. If it's the Buddha jewel, it's not necessarily the Sangha jewel. If you would say sho, that would be proper. Then the answer is the true paths and true cessations within the continuum of the Buddha. Is the Buddha jewel, but not the Sangha jewel. Why isn't it the Sangha jewel? Because it's not a person. There's not a common locus between person and path, true path, or true cessation, or person, like as defined as person. And then so something which is both the Sangha jewel and the Buddha jewel, we can say Buddha Shakyamuni. And Buddha Shakyamuni is a Buddha jewel. Buddha Shakyamuni is the Sangha jewel, as he's achieved the state of Arya or above. He's a Buddha Arya. And then the next 2, we would say the Dharma jewel and the Sangha jewel. And in this case, we find they are mutually exclusive. There is no common locus between the Dharma jewel and the Sangha jewel, because the Dharma jewel is a true path, true cessation. The Sangha jewel requires there to be a person involved. If it is a Sangha jewel, it is necessarily a person or being. And because there's no person involved in true paths or true cessations, person as defined, translators note it's a being imputed on any among the 5 aggregates. And it's in a category of impermanent phenomena. So there's no common locus between the person and which has to be is a quality of those aspiring for virtue or sangha, has to be a person involved. So there's no common locus, therefore they are mutually exclusive. So now that's how we would look at the differences in the jewels based on the way we've been looking at things according to the 3, 4 mutually exclusive and synonymous. Now we'll look at the distinctions that we find in the Lamrim Chenmo, and we find there's 6 distinctions, or 6 points that are made. Okay. Okay, so now we'll go through the great treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment.
Trilogy Chabanes, Trilogy Chabagune, Josu Roanes, Rimbatar, long labor, Boba dance, Sanjay Gunju, Dan, Chugunju, Gunju, Chabakariasana, Sanjay Gunju de long labor Boba Bores, and the Chugunju de New Mobadan, doing a Bombala Mebores. Donc, tu conjugues que dit de chérie de bon gouvernement, marbe. L'adin de bon gérer, godin de bon godin de droit. Donc, on parle, on parle trop chérie, très généreux. T'as gagné conjugué, marbe. Gagné conjugué, on parle trop chérie, très généreux. T'as de ce que doit, t'as d'ambut de ce que doit. rimbatar long lebar bobatans long lebar bobatan long lebar bobason de le ta saje sa de longo de trogo de ge ane kulo tambo kulo baba kulo tama chuju kulo go marba chuju kulo go long lebar bobason chuko go lo long lebar bobasana chuju kulo go long lebar bobatans 다 논레바 보바서 다 가르쳐거래 최주콜로고들 다 사제 쪽에 최주콜로데 안에 제부 총을 가자던 린다 안 티바체미 가자 안 참을 주고도 고여지로 제부 총을 가자라 안에 대지라바 안에 가서 그래 코알쿠이 가서 내송 그죠 네 레다 녀모 받아 디인저블 내송 주제 지제 다다네 내송 그 동안 주 된두이랑 장도 달레데 디발 샤다시야 제비 중을 나대지 그라데네 제비 중을 하다 멀지고 말바 워터스 송고지 말바 워터스 송고지 논레번 보바스 다 제분 디기 테메 디기 간자를 가르소나 다 대지 참모 대지 참모 동에 대봐도 군주 대봐 콜 그주레니 콜 주주레니데 어떤 송거지로 논레바 뭐 봐서 어떤 갈지 주나
and the tseni
논레바 뭐 알아 사제게 tseni도 가르쳐서 사제게 tseni도 어떤 송도다
the ngama that said that tseni le jerpi jepar that sash okay, Jinlei Jepar.
Alla Treatise Male.
The Nipa.
Sorry, what not.
Ni Jagamar, the Nika, the Laguna, Ni Jagamar.
Senil Jubi Chabande Dua.
Go and get
not none.
Go and mention.
Senil Jubi Chabane, Saji Conjune, Nobra Duba, Sanjubi, Seni Las, Saji Conju, Conju, Chabacana, Saji Conju de Nobra. ngabra zoba shanchubi seni las saje koncho de ngabra zoba shanchubi seni res ngabra sana si so said marba chutanji si chutanji so odala ngabra sala marba ngabra saje karunga goare karu tungu are ne kasana chutanji ngabra zobas ane saje ge chu ane cheadele chama zoba chama saje ge chegares ngabra zobares si zoba so zoba ngabra zobas ngabra zobas what saje go saje chutanji chengo ta chutanji chengo yoza ngabra zoba shanchuba ni las saje ge cheni sata saje ngodo watan jires cheni las 안 사제게 녀모바다 시지 제바 참아 봉사버 사제 마법녀디 야요 말에 시디샤요 말로 균균제레스 얘들 그 어떤 지레 송디서 어떻게 주셔는 갈래.
Okay, so we begin then with the defining characteristics of the distinction based on defining characteristics. So it says the Buddha jewel has the defining characteristics of full perfect enlightenment. So here if we define what the Buddha jewel is, what is full perfect? What does this idea of complete mean? Here the meaning is that the Buddha has achieved the state of all-knowing. The Buddha has achieved the state of omniscience. This is the perfection of knowing. And here, the state of omniscience has been achieved by the removal of the afflictive obstructions, which keep one from liberation, and the obstructions to omniscience. So here, it says the Buddha jewel is defined as that which is full and perfect. And this perfection here is referring to the abandonment of all negativities and the achievement of that state of all knowing. So here this is referring to that. So it says okay. Then
다 상제 도 어떤 거바 조바 상주비 세니레스로 어떤 사제 다 주권주는 뒤 제부터스.
Less so.
주권주는 다 상주권주 제부에서 뭔가 잡아주고. 주권주는 뒤 제부터
Less so.
다 주권주대 안에 상주권주 제부 아이. 제부이나 안에 가서 주권주대 상주 제부인 바이나 안에 주권주들은 고된당라되니 고된당라되니 고된 다바레 란데도 메다바마
Less so.
고된당라된 지 메다바레 지 다바로와 고된당라된 니 주제 다바이 메다바이 유주나 다바다 메다바 그런 차비지 차송상 고된당라된 니 주제 다바이 메다바이 지송나지 라우도아
Taba.
주권주는 고된당라된 유도와 주권 고된당라된 니 주제 다바이 집에 란디면 당연히 다바이 라우로
Dujayin.
당연히 다바이 라우로 주권주도 그는 권주니 다바이 집에 라우로 다 주권주도 그는 권주니 다바이 라우로 아니 주권주 다바이
Instance. Okay.
주권주 다바이나 아니 주권주 주 상진 제보 많이 받아 디 주권주는 디 제보 당사 다 주권주 대 상주권주 제보 이슬라바이나
Less so.
주권주 상주 세비주 주권주 요래 니트다 라제 바비줄에 주권주 요로 더 참아 사지 제비 라그래 니트 라제가 주 주권주 대 사지 제비 라그래 상생의 주 제비 라그래스
Less so.
상주 세비지 주권주 대 안에 사지 제비 이슬라나 대비지 사지 줄 자고 그래 임바타 뒤발레스 출리 제바 추지 고길라죠 시송 베스스 출리 제바스 뒤바게 추군 추지에 대가도들 뒤바 놀때 좀 맞아 출리 제바 추지 고길라죠 바스 사지 고송도 연대도 출리 제바 이마 늘어오는데 사지 고송도 연대도 주제 출리 제바 임바다 라공바던 고방고도 제발레 중앙 이마 임베지 제바 이마다 늘어오도 출리 제바 사지 고송도 연대 출리 제바이나 상주 세비 주지 출리 제바래 니트더라제 대수 출리 제바르스나 상주 세바자고 말아 상주 세비 주지 네 상주 세비 고방고도 제바다 라공비 출레 안 사지 고 송투 연대도 제바 말아
Less so.
제바 임바다 뒤발레 출리 제바 시송베스 받는 다르고 공부하면 이제 사지는 동안제 사지 상주 선발의 중심 시송 베이스 네 사지의 상주 선발 중으로다 상주 선배 고방고도 제바다 라공비 출레 네 사지 고소도 유연도 정우 알았어 어디서 고부도 어떻게 갈지 주다네
So here, then it goes on to say, let's do it.
그 고깃대는도 고깃
The sana then kukite.
Yeah.
Gangi sinenge jigin.
야
So here it says then, the Dharma jewel is a result of that. So it says the Buddha jewel has the defining characteristics of full perfect enlightenment. So this is the definition of the Buddha jewel in short. It is a full perfect enlightenment, and then as what that explained before. Then it says the Dharma jewel is a result of that. So here then the question arises. Then when we look at what the Dharma jewel is, we say the Dharma jewel refers to the two, cessation and path. And then if we look at the subject, the two, cessation and path, we ask, is that impermanent or permanent? Well, there are instances of impermanence in the true paths, and there are the no instances when we look at cessation of impermanence. So according to the logic primer, the first text that you go over in the logic text, says if there's an instance of permanence, then it's necessarily permanent. That subject is permanent, even if there are instances of it not. So if you have the subject permanent, impermanent, it's permanent. So it's if there's an instance of permanent, it's permanent. So if we say the subject, what are we referring to when we say the Dharma jewel? We'd say the two true paths and cessation. That subject would be permanent. So how is it a result? How is it caused then by the Buddha jewel if it's permanent? Because a permanent phenomenon can't be caused. So this brings up the question, because previously we learned, when we were learning about the arisal of the excellent qualities of the Buddha's body, speech, mind, and enlightened activities, we found that they arise from the teaching. So here it says, Chu le jepa, or le juan, something to that effect. When we previously looked at the compendium of the teachings, quote, it says that there is this arisal of these excellent qualities that occurs from the Dharma. So we have these conflicting ideas. One which is saying in this that the Buddha's excellent qualities are arising from the Dharma. But then we have a thing here, and Lama Tsong-kha-pa is stating that the Dharma is a result of the Buddha. And then we look at the other texts, such as we look at the Madhyamika Avatara. Chandrakirti states that the Buddhas arise from the Bodhisattvas, the Bodhisattva heroes. And that those Shravakas and those halfway to Buddhahood arise from the Buddhas. So we have all of these different ideas, and we need to look at the different texts and see the different points that are made and try to figure out what point within each point was really trying to be made, or what the emphasis or meaning behind that was. So Rinpoche said, let's take a break and pass out some cookies and so forth, and then we'll get into some of the other points that are made. Rinpoche went over a second point a little bit, but we'll stop here.
Cookies. What that Chapa Shebi going to just drop Marba?
That's it.
The La Trole, Senil Jubi Chapa, Senil Jubi Chabane,
Okay.
Senil Jubi Chabane, and Chukunju, Kanukunju, Sanji Kunju, Senil Jubi Chapa Kandaresana,
Lessa.
Senil Jubi Chabane, Sanji Kunju, Mabara Zuba Shanchubi Seni Hilas. Ngobara zubasa to quadre, ngobasna si sauce, Masuzu Tonala, Ngoba. And the Sanji Chutaji Changu Yezan, Ngoba Zuba. And Chu Ngoba, Chu Sheba, Tamazuba, Mashiba Jimas, Ngoba Zuba, Shanchubi Seni Hilas, then Aji in the Nyomova the Shi Jiba Tamabunsa, Mabumba Yomarwa. Senor, then the Dagamanwa.
So when we look at this definition, the Buddha has the defining characteristic of full, perfect enlightenment. This full and perfect means there's a perfection. There is nothing obscuring. There is a nature that is all knowing. When we look at like seeing a form or saw a form, once one has seen the form, there's a full apprehension of that. So here, this fullness means that there is a completion. There's nothing left to see or know. The state of all-knowing has been achieved. So this is the definition of the Buddha jewel, according to the section on distinction. The definition, distinction based on definition.
And teaching Shanju Sungune, and the Sanji the Shanchen or Shanchen. Moba to Shanju on the Yashu de Redro. Moba to Shanju be sending in Lhasa.
So when we look at enlightenment, there is the hearer's enlightenment, the solitary realizer's enlightenment, and then the Mahayana enlightenment. And when we look at the Mahayana enlightenment, it's called the Shang Chen, which means the great enlightenment. And it's the great enlightenment because it is full, perfect enlightenment. So this is the reason for it being labeled as the Great Enlightenment.
Nyetwe papi juju ngoden talade ni, raja papi juju ngoden lade ni, shasen papi juju ngoden lade ni, saji papi toju ju ngoden lade, otu chu kunju marbe. Da chu kunju de, ane saji gen drebe yin songen rabu doode. Chu kunju ne di drebe dans, saji kunju gen drebe res. Ane chu kunju, saji kunju gen drebe res, katu le di drebe yin sonbala jaba yina. Chenrezig namado jenja tuudwe. Goden talade ni lang gombala de goden tobrwa. Goden de ne lade gebres. Jain debo mado debungone maro. Tenaji ane chukunju de ane sanji kunju ge debe is laba ina. Sanji la den jwa yin zang debe sila namado jen lo kabro ah. Debungone mai.
Lessa.
Tan debu de ngun chukunju da nyetwe papa da raja papi ju chukunju de sanjing debu insen de rigdwa. Goden de debu insen rig maro da. Tende debu dans da nyetwe papi ju goden da la de zu kalo ane sanjing kunju debu res rwa. Nyetwe sanjing de na tongwa ches. Nyetwe sanjing de du 통화를 제버레스 디주지 라덴 주가 통화를 제버와 고된 통화를 제버 아이 마이 이나 통화기 텐데이스 통화를 때는 줘봐 인사 딘제버 미기다 바이 딘제버 다스 어떻게 거라전테 산다고 다 다드네 사제 네트 추kon주도 사제가 되면이나 아니 추kon주게 연대 시사가도들 네 사제 연대 타도 맘마바 꾸이 연대 송게 연대 투지 연대 틀리지 연대 타도 맘마바 요아레스 도속걸로 죽걸라데네 숑아레스나 아니 죽걸라데네 숑아레스나 론던 투비 제르메시 론던 투비 춤고바탄 라제데바 타예바 젠데네 론던 투비 춤고바탄 라제 덴바 쮸봉바탄 연데 투비다니 ngoba ngobrasheba 공발레 숑아 슬마르바
Lessa.
당 고방노도 제바다 나 공발레 안에 사지 연데도 제바레스
Lessa.
사지 연데도 추군줄 제바레스 다말레 뒤바카도 제송로다
Lessa.
추레 제바 추지고 길라 줘바스 사지 고송 도게 연데도 추레 제바 임바다 뒤발레 제송베스 추레 제바 추레 숑아 추레 추지고 길라 줘바 제송베스 랑수나
Lessa.
추레 제바 추지고 길라 줘바스 어디서나 베지 네트도 나제도 자 그런다면도 월 샤주셈베 고된 샤주셈베 고바 토바다라 공비 출라 되네 안에 사지 고송 도중에 대도 좀 말봐 아 어디 자고 건데 이마다 사지 샤주셈벨에 또 시스템에 오만주 발에 사지도 샤주셈벨 좀 버렸어 사지 샤주셈벨 좀 이마든데 인트 뒤발에 출리지 봐 시스템 베이스 고송 도중에 대도 출리지 봐 손도 왔어
I see.
어떤데 자는 잡으면 되다
Okay, so there's more, not controversy, but the differing in ideas that I'm going to be going around with. So I'm going to do my best not to make it confusing. I'm going to do my best. So here it says, the Buddha jewel has the defining characteristic of full, perfect enlightenment. The teaching jewel is a result of that. So is a result of that. So here, when we look at the different aspects of the Dharma jewel, we see that we have true paths and true cessations. So the true paths and true cessations of the hearers, solitary realizers, and Buddhas, bodhisattvas, and then the Buddhas. And it says, when we look at the Four Noble Truths, and we look at the way that one achieves a cessation, we say that cessation is achieved as a result of the path. So we say there's this cause and effect relationship that shows how one is freed from cyclic existence. So we say that it is through the path. But we use the word relied upon or depending upon the path, so that through a dependence of practices that serve as a collection, then a cessation is achieved. So there is an achievement of such a thing by a coming together of a collection. So there is a cessation that is achieved. So in the when we look at the realizations of the true paths and cessations within the hearers and solitary realizers, we could say that those could be a result of the Buddhas, because we find in the Madhyamika Avatara, it says that the Shravakas and those halfway born to freedom, or Prachika Buddhas, are born from the Buddhas, or arise from the Buddha. So the arisal of their paths and cessations, we could say, arise from the Buddha. But how do we say that the Buddhas arise? In the Madhyamika Avatara, it says the Buddha arises from the Bodhisattva. So the continuum of the Bodhisattva is what gives rise to the Buddha. But when we go back to the Dharma, and we look at the definition of the Dharma according to the compendium of the teachings, compendium of teachings, it says, once you have established by reasons those limitless excellent qualities of the Buddha, through a proper analysis and meditation on the teaching, you'll find that they're divide, and then it goes on to say the teaching creates and governs them. They arise from the teaching. They are within the scope of the teaching, and they depend upon the teaching. The teaching produces them. So here within this, it's saying that the Dharma jewel is that which produces the excellent qualities of the Buddha, the excellent qualities of the Buddha's body, the excellent qualities of the Buddha's speech, the excellent qualities of the Buddha's mind, the excellent qualities of the Buddha's enlightened activities. So within this, it's saying that these such qualities are born from the teaching. They arise from the teaching. If we're looking at the Tibetan, it says Lungdan Dopi Chu. So the scriptural and realizational dharmas, cessations and paths. So depending on paths, we have. Depending on the scriptural and realizational dharmas, which are paths, the cessations and abandonments occur. Those cessations are achieved and abandonments occur. So here, where in this, it talks about the proper practice of the teaching, but really it speaks of the scriptural and realizational doctrines within the Tibetan text, and then the reliance on the path and familiarization with it, giving rise to a cessation or abandonments. So we have to then question and look at this and say, we have all these different texts. Some say that it is arisen from the Dharma. Some say that the Buddha's qualities, or the Buddha arises from a bodhisattva. And then here we see that the Dharma arises from the Buddha. So we have to look at what each of these mean, and within the context of what they're being, how they're being presented. And the way one does so is by recreating the understanding of each of these lines And I'm sorry, it's difficult to do with the English you have in front of you and then trying to recreate it. But if you go back and look at the previous teaching, it was separated out line by line, and we can find where those distinctions are made and where it shows how the excellent qualities arise and so forth. So I'm just having trouble just recreating it here, but we've done it already, so we can go back and look at the specific breakdown of the Tibetan for sake of time. So if we say what comes first, the chicken or the egg, or the egg or the chicken or the egg, or the egg or the chicken, which comes first? It's kind of the same thing. Which is first, the chicken? Which is first, the egg? Which is it? So if we say that it's the first comes the chicken, then how does the egg come? It's similar to this, no? When we're thinking of in these terms, does this produce that or does that produce this? So if we see in one place where we see that all the excellent qualities of the Buddha's body, speech, mind, and enlightened activities are born from the Dharma, and then we find another section that says that the Dharma is a result of the Buddha. So we find these two separate pages, between separate ideas. So it's very similar to the chicken and the egg idea. This idea of chicken and egg when we're looking at this back and forth. And we look at it from a cause and effect, and it becomes very strange. So before in Dharamsala, I'm not sure if it was Christian or who it was, but there was a religious debate going on in Dharamsala. A lot of questions and answers going back and forth. So there's one geshe from Sarah there. So then he said this. He said, did the chicken come from the egg or the egg come from the chicken? And then everyone there couldn't answer. They were having these very, very deep religious debates, and then one geshe said, which came first, the chicken or the egg? All the Buddha's excellent qualities of the body, speech, and mind arise from the Dharma. And then it says that the Dharma jewel is a result of the Buddha. So it's very similar to did the chicken arise from the egg or the egg arise from the chicken? But and then we see that cause and effect are synonymous. My cause and my result are mutually exclusive. My cause and my result, we can't find a common locus between. Buddha's cause and Buddha's result, we can't find a common locus between. But then we see this statement that the Dharma jewel is a result of the Buddha jewel. So we have to look at it and then extract the meaning, and then we come to the conclusion that it's similar to this: is the egg born from the chicken, or the chicken born from the egg? And we have to engage in this analysis. So when we look at the cause of a tree and the result of a tree, then this is mutually exclusive. But cause and effect are synonymous. But the cause of this and the effect of this are mutually exclusive. just a translator's note, just so everyone I can see is confused. When we say synonymous in English, it means that there's these 8 doors of pervasion I've said before. If there is A, there is B. If there is B, there is A. If A exists, B exists. If B exists, A exists. And it goes on. There's 8 things just like that. If it's a cause, it is a result. Because it has to. And if it's a result, it's a cause. Because it will cause something else. But when you add cause of this, cause of that, it makes specific points about what it's causing. So in a generic sense, cause and effect are mutually inclusive or synonymous. But when you put a cause of this or cause of that to it, cause of Buddha, result of Buddha, then it changes it and it becomes mutually exclusive because there's no common locus. But if you look at common locus between cause and effect, if it's a cause, it's always an effect. If it's an effect, it's always a cause. In its raw state, just the word cause, word effect. So debate, a lot of times, it depends on just the word itself and what it's specifically referring to. Gonggyal Mepachi.
What does Haji Kusuto to Kangalo and the Chiji you think I do the le and then Gubango to Sheba, the Langumbal Chevares, Langumbal Juares, Tubale, Chili Cheba, Zumroda. What that is not to see Savagena, Shanju Sembe, Gubango to Sheba, the Langumbi Chile, and the Saji Kusun to Chevares. Saji the Shanju Sambal Jumares. Tubale Chili Cheba said, Shanju Sembe Gubango to Sheba, Langumba de Latine, and the Saji Kusun to Chevajilla Uzamarveta.
So the Buddha's excellent qualities of the body, speech, and mind come from the Bodhisattva. But we would say that it comes from the Bodhisattva's practice of the pathway. So the Bodhisattva's practice of the pathway is what gives rise to the Buddha. So when we say that path is to be relied upon and cessation to be achieved, so this achievement is dependent upon the path, just as this Buddha is dependent upon the Bodhisattva engaging in the pathways and so forth to achieve that cessation. In this case, the Buddhahood, Buddha cessation, but it is achieved through this collection or comings together of this path that it depends upon.
Chuli Jiba said the Shanju Sembe Gubango to Jiba, the Langumba, Gombi Chuli Jiba Yin, Timek Langumba, Gubango to Jiba, Chuli Jiba is Lavayina, Sanji Guru to Junior to choose, and then Timek Papi, Gubango to Jiba, Langumba, Jiba in Batan Duroda. Netudan Raja to choose Sanji Jiba Maimata. Netu Sanji in a Tonga Jello. Netudan Raja Tuan Jibro. Tuan de and Netudan Raja Gubango to Jiba, Langumba Jiba, the Maila woman. What the Kalesan
the Nyentu Dan Ranjel Lam Gomba Sanjay
Netudan Raja Sanji Jibro. Netu Sanji in the Tuan Sanji Sanju Sembal Leton.
Less so.
Sanju Sembal
Less so.
That Sanji Netudan Raja Sanji Jiba Yimatan Durwa. Netu Raja Langumba and Gubango to Chevale, Sanji Jiba Maimata. Himba the Chuli Jiba, she's one base. Chuli Jiba says Sanju Sembi, Chuli Jiba Logures.
Oh, I see. So then we say that the hearers and solitary realizers are born from the Buddhas. Yes, we state that. And the Buddhas are born from the Bodhisattvas. Yes, that has been stated. But so then do we state that if the excellent qualities of the Buddhas are born from the Dharma, then we can't say that the hearers and solitary realizers' paths are what cause the excellent qualities of the Buddha. We have to say that they are born from the pathways of the Bodhisattvas, that are concordant with the results of the Buddha's cessation. So the reliance upon the Bodhisattva path to achieve that state of cessation of an actual Buddha. So we have to think of many different things when we're thinking about this dependence and achievement and so forth, and concordance with the achievement. Dependence, achievement, and that which is concordant with the achievement.
다 전일이 주비 제가 가도 사제의 뭐가 좀 상주비 생일이스 사제 뭐가 좀 상주제 아니 사제 대인 잡아 주고 와서나 바수 취지 재생 취주고 주고 장도다 대 사제 봐봐 다 나진 잡아 주고 와서 주고 잡아이나 사제네 주고 봐 콜도 뭐 봐발아서 운동하고 주고 봐레스 주고 발라데네 안에 되는 되던 라자의 집을 중고단 데이터 도서게 비자 로정제 뭐 말이야 로정제 중고도 동물 라자제 받아 데이터 동물 라자제 로정제 더 공발라데네 안에 집을 중고이나 안에 저르다 뭐 그좀 주지다 네발 샤다제네 제보 하다 말지야 테메이나 안에 딩기 주고 가서 딩기라 안에 내주고 상바다 안에 돈이를 비신에도 하동 공부를 되네 안에 신에도 하동 공부를 되네 안에 가서 그래 테메도 용거로다 테메도 좋은 말이야 테메도 줘봐 인소자 테메기 출근 주대 사직은 되버다고 사제 주고 테메도 로너 제발 때네 테메 출근수 들어오므로 모델들한테 그 사직은 되고 있으려나 텐데 더 투발라 뛰는 주바 인자 대인제버스 안데 공발라 때는 고대 주바 인자 대인제버스 텐데 이송으로 텐데 어떤 자네 야선도 그래도
Then Dan Namchen, Jew, look, Chugogo.
대상선 대사지 봐봐. 대사지 봐봐. 타 나친스 타 더는
Top Namchen.
주지 칸다 삼바다 발라니 그걸로 상지 쳔고로. 대 쳔발라 때는 칸다 삼바다 튠비 추송고. 다주 너무 추고 왔어.
Den Sanjay Papa, Top Nanchen, Jepo.
너무 추고 왔어.
Chugogo.
이 데버서야도 어때 바수 주지게 추고 왔자.
So Baso Chuji Jetson speaks about basis, method, and result, and in relation to this subject. Speaking the basis being Buddha superior, the method, the exalted knower, or the all-knower, and the result, the turning of the wheel of Dharma. So the method of omniscience, knowing what to teach, the teachings for beings sharing common with beings of small capacity that lead to the higher realms of cyclic existence and allow one to abandon the lower realms by engaging in going for refuge in the three jewels of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, engaging in ethical behavior which abandons the 10 non-virtuous activities, and acknowledging one's downfalls. By engaging in these practices, one is able to get rid of the chance of rebirth in the lower realms and achieve rebirth into the higher realms. So the Buddha has, through his Namchen, been able to turn the wheel of Dharma of the small scope for those beings, and for those beings who wish to achieve complete cessation from samsara, the teachings of renunciation, are which are lesser vehicle teachings. The teachings of renunciation are presented by the Buddha, and then one practitioner, for instance, of the Hinayana vehicle, of the hearer or solitary realizer vehicle, engages in the practices taught by the Buddha, that has turned the wheel of Dharma based on the omniscience that he or she has, and then engages in the practices, develops renunciation, develops the calm abiding and special insight, which has as its object of observation emptiness, and through going through the various pathways that he or she relies upon, then cessation is achieved. So through the comings together of this collection, through this dependent or comings together of the pathways and practices, this cessation is then achieved. So according to Basu Chuji Jetsun, this explanation of how this are produced is through the Buddha explaining these dharma, the cessations and achievements of past within the continuums of beings, speaking maybe towards hearers and solitary realizers at this point in the Hinayana vehicle, are dependent upon the Buddha's instruction and dependent upon the Buddha explaining them. So this is one means of showing how it's done through the turning of the wheel of Dharma, and it's nominally designated as this a result of it. They're nominally designated as result, but it's more of a facsimile of a result, and it's more meaning a coming together of things, a dependent origination. So it's a japi depo. It's similar to a result. It's like a result, japi jep, but not a real result. So that's how we say it's a comings together. So the independence on the study of what the Buddha is presenting, then the true paths and cessations are achieved. Okay.
Ndil den chamusung den chamusung ana jebu chungu dan den to so ge den ji chara lo jong jin la gong ne nan ju sang ba da la gong ba la den ne jebu chungu den ru ka so gre la da ma na to wa res jebu chungu ta ba jebu din ge ane nan ju ka so gre nan ju chu tin da to ni le me bi shen ne la dong gong ba la den ne Nyomo da döngen bu taba tu marbe taba tu lugores what does it marbe te debutans gane konchu na ta gane konchu song de gane konchu ne je menga ke ya taba rubi seni dos gane konchu de ke ta kasure chuko ko jaba da lujon je bo marbe to
shen menga
de je chara chung jebu chung ane kaza ina 대지 잡아 로정제 링가 대지 참을 로정제네 되는 소랑 줄랑 통랑 고나토르 테메게 파바레는 말에 출근주도 근육근 또 토고도 what does one is that
the community jewel has the defining characteristics of correct practice by means of the personal instructions. So always those aspiring to virtue are established by always giving the personal instructions. Always giving personal instructions. So this is the means of the personal instructions. And when we look at the various, it says the teaching has the defining characteristic of being a result of the Buddha jewel. The Buddha gives the explanation of the Four Noble Truths in its most coarse form, the truth of suffering, origin, cessation, and path, in showing that the cessation according to the teaching shared in common with beings of small capacity would be the cessation of the lower realms of cyclic existence and the achievement of the higher realms of cyclic existence by going for refuge, engaging in ethical behavior which abandons the 10 non-virtuous activities, and by acknowledging one's downfall if he or she is engaged in negativity. So by depending upon this, one can achieve a freedom from suffering or a release. And here this is a facsimile of a liberation, because it's merely a liberation from the lower states and achievement of a higher state of rebirth as a gods, humans, etc. So this is a rapa, a coarse form of the Four Noble Truths as pronounced by the Buddha when the turning of the wheel of Dharma happens. At the next level, a practitioner wishes to be free from cyclic existence of altogether. So the Buddha turns the wheel of Dharma to present them with the less coarse form the Four Noble Truths and stating that suffering be all of cyclic existence, and that origin is to be abandoned, and then one relies upon a path to achieve a cessation. So a cessation is achieved, path relied upon, and the pathway refers to the highest higher trainings. The highest higher training in ethics, which is a basis, united with concentration and wisdom, that's specifically a calm abiding and special insight that utilizes as its object of observation emptiness. So reliance upon this pathway of the three highest higher trainings allows one to achieve a state of cessation, which is a hinayana realization. So by turning the wheel of the Dharma, the Buddha is able to bring these beings to these states of true paths and cessation, the paths of the accumulation, preparation, seeing, meditation, and no more learning. So he's able to bring these various levels of practitioners through these various pathways and so forth. So this is what is meant by arising from the Buddha jewel. And the community is always giving correct personal instructions, personal meaning depending on the person, whether he or she is wishing to achieve freedom from the lower realms or wishing to achieve liberation, giving those personal instructions to them to be able to free him or her from their desired free them from whatever they wish to be free from, whether it be the lower realms or cyclic existence altogether. So the Buddha turns the wheel of Dharma and teaches in order to for these beings to achieve these results. So we say the Buddha turns the wheel of the Dharma, of the Four Noble Truths, in its coarse, in its subtle form, and then the small scope practitioners engage in those practices, and the medium scope practitioners engage in those practices relating to the coarse and subtle forms of the Four Noble Truths. And this is why it says that the hearers and solitary realizers are born from the Buddha. When we look at that case of the going back to the Madhyamika Avatar and Chenrezig's text, we find that the Buddha is giving these coarse and subtle explanations of the Four Noble Truths that they rely upon in order to achieve their cessations, be they cessation of lower realms or real cessation, actual cessation of samsara. And then when we look at the Buddha, how the Buddha is achieved, we find that the Buddha comes about through the Bodhisattva. The yanja the depu the yanja surna nuje juje yomare
tomo tona garbo tomo boro
okay
tomo bobi debu ji yore tomo bobi debu de ane minka da juju judu shubas baba ji de judu shubin debos judu shubin debu tomo bobi debu to get le juju la juju.
Okay. Nipa?
Tatane nyomodala and gomo nyomodala ka goyma chung kosu ring kosu chemu kosu goyma
go
nyomo goyro chung di
okay
ding
oh okay
nyomodala gomo nyomodala ka kosu go dela jite belang to tokenge nyomuka goda jiden de belang moma to ba jiden de belang ko chamu ko
Samba.
다들 고분가 고도 단지대벨라 지대벨랑 봉도하게 녀모 총오 지 총오 첨보 치미치고 치미디 고요
The Nipa.
what the drugna 고그나네 트루메시 봉을 잡지와래 트루메시 봉을 잡들 숑을 잡으서래 숑 그 저부터잖아요. 야자 되발 퀄 지원에 용우 그랬어. 야자 되발 지원에 용우. 시험을 되고서 다 너무 고gat 모자서나 시험을 되고 된 되발 용우 말았어. 되발 지금 조건도 주면
No conception.
되는 뭐 말을 봐 보고서나 다 주면 되고 말. 되버지라서 뭐 되래. 파신 그거는 이제 가도 해래.
Ngay chikshena ngay tong then yanjer la gangisin la June lana at pento mare. So Rinpoche is talking about the four results. So it says the community jewel has the defining characteristic of correct practice by means of personal instruction. So the Buddha turns the wheel of the Dharma and states that the Buddha turns the wheel of the Dharma, pronounces the Dharma, teaches the various paths of the hearers and solitary realizers, the path of accumulation, path of preparation, path of seeing, path of meditation, and path of no more learning. So the Buddha teaches these, and then the Sangha jewel gives personal instructions. And then Rinpoche started to get into various results, and I'm going to have to go. He said that it's in the Parshin Chitan, so I'm going to look it up and go at this later because it's quite difficult. But it refers to the first result is a result that takes place within the continuum of a being on the path of seeing, where the abandonments on the path of seeing are abandoned. So this is the first result. It's a result within a continuum. The next is referring to the 9 stages of abandonment on the path of meditation. So there are various, the small, medium, and great, small of small, medium, small of great, medium of small, medium, etc., etc. So there's 9 stages of abandonments. The next is referring to the abandonment of conceptuality, where one would achieve the state of form or formless realm status. This is a type of result. And then the last is called the resultant foe destroyer. So this is connected in some way to this material, but I wanted to, that's the information about the 4 Rinpoche gave me. I don't know what the 4 are named. And then the Jawagare, the Japoji, Dene, the Jawagare. So these are the instructions that the Sangha jewel are giving. These types of instructions are the instructions on these types of results, the abandonments and so forth. So I'm going to look it up in the Perfection of Wisdom text, but these are, when it says by means of personal instruction, the personal instructions are referring to the paths, and then here, these are some of the personal instructions of that are given, that are found. The personal instructions, the Becha Chigdu. The Genyon Gunchu, the Yalan Yapo, Dan Becha Chigdu. Less personal instruction. Less
and the Juju Drevo, Shong Drevo, Shemong Drevo, Dajum Drevo, Ruashi waters. The Tubashi waters.
So the personal instruction, so one is able to achieve these various results, the results mentioned before of the abandonments of the seeing, the abandonments of meditation, the abandonments of conceptuality, abandonment, the result of the abandonment of the abandonments, the result of the abandonments on the path of seeing, the result of the abandonments on the path of meditation, the result of the abandonment of conceptuality, and the result of the abandonment which causes a foe destroyer. So the abandoned, I guess, the final abandonment, if you will. So means of personal instruction. So this is the distinction. So here it says Zhenji Menga. This could be the instructions found in the pronouncements, the Kangjur, the pronouncements of Lord Buddha. So this is the personal instruction. And so it's almost instructions on how to practice. So here it's instructions. It says of correct practice by means of. It's almost personal instructions on correct practice. Personal instructions on how to practice, and it's saying yang dak par, always. So the defining of always giving personal instructions on practice, something to that effect. So drupa, practice or established. So anyway, so this is the detail of the community, is that they're always explaining, giving the personal instructions, which are the Kangjur, the pronouncements of Lord Buddha, and and those personal instructions are correct, how to practice correctly. Tuji Rinpoche Gushabi Tenrala. Sheda Selbudu. Kashe Kali Kabudu. Rinpoche, the Japo Ji Kabiare. The Pashin Kapgare. Ngay Ratu. Katambo. Then Chen Sum, Yande, Chukor. Zhangye. The Chukor.
Chukur Tangero. Saji Diablo.
Ngay Zusum. Cheka Zusar. Injike.
Gozu Chuji. Kenji. Jozunji. Okay. Ale. This Sheda Denja. The Tama Zusar. Tama. The Gendun Gunchu. The Sache. The Tam. That's so strange. I asked Rinpoche to find out where in the Parshin Shittan this was so I could look it up. And I'm working on the index of it. And it's the very last thing I wrote in the index when I was translating. So just interesting. Yeah. So big index. We can slowly practice these things, and then we will slowly understand them and ascertain them. And I do make a commitment to get that text done, the section done, so folks can use it. You're studying so well, thank you. So we'll do the concluding mandala offering and dedication prayer. Tuji Rimchi Guji Shabi Denarong, Sheda Selpudu, Mekanga Sheda Gagudu. Kasakala Pentodu. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. All sentient beings enjoy this pure. Dedicate whatever virtues I have collected for the benefit of the teachings of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Losang Drapa. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. I dedicate all this virtue to emulate the knowledge of the hero Manjushri and likewise Samantabhadra as well. With whatever dedication is praised as supreme by all the conquerors who traverse the 3 times,
I also dedicate all my roots of virtue for the sake of auspicious deeds. In that pure land surrounded by snowy mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. All-powerful Avalokiteshvara, Tenzin Gyatso, may you stay until samsara's end. I pray for the long life of the precious Khenso Wandok, holder of scriptural and realizational doctrines, spiritual friend who trained extensively in the 5 great philosophical texts with exceptional perseverance. Tuji Rinpoche Gutsi Shapi Denona, Sir Lamrim Chenmo